everybody, I'm Avian and we are working on our Stardew Valley How to Make a Mod series. We're doing part 2 of how to make a custom farm map today. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Tiled. So where we left off last time was we had made our map. We had added placeholders on the path layer for our greenhouse and our farmhouse, as well as our shipping bin, and then we had gone in and added the grass and the trees, as well as some special placeholder path layer tiles for the big rocks, the big logs, and cabin placement where the cabins are generated if you do multiplayer. The next thing we have to do is make sure our tile data and tile sheet data are all set up. I do have the farming branch map open as well, just in case I need to reference anything. So this is one of the existing maps in the game. I've been using it as a reference. I might go through and add some more clutter, actually looking at all this grass and logs and everything, because you see mine is not nearly as filled up. But for now, let's go ahead and get the tile sheet data set up. So what you want to do is you want to go to your main tile sheet. You're going to click on this little wrench icon in the bottom that says Edit Tile Set when you hover over it. And this will bring you specifically to your tile set map. If you're doing animations, which I did already set up, and I set it up in the tiled how-to map video if you want to see more about that. So what we're setting up is how it reacts, whether it's grass, if it makes the grass footstep sound, dirt footstep sound. The water tiles have an overlay. And this is all in our modding map wiki as well. So if you go through here, you can see all of this. So this is going to be your chart for everything you might possibly need ever, including a bunch of stuff that applies more to town maps or mines or custom NPC houses and stuff. But for the farm map, what we really want is these. This says backwater. This is what makes it able to fill up something with a watering can. We have the style to let your character walk over the bridges. There's everything's on here that you might possibly want. One thing I have learned is that it's a lot faster to reference if you open up an existing map, which is why I have done that. So if I go to the farm ranching map, go to the same tile sheet, click Edit Tile Set, you'll notice if I click on the dirt, you'll see these two things under custom properties. You'll see diggable and you'll see type, and it'll say dirt and it'll say diggable has a T for true. And then up here, just search for it in the wiki. You'll see under known tile properties, it'll have diggable true right here, and that's what that is. And then type is down here. So for type, we can have dirt, stone, grass, or wood. So what I'm going to go through and do is set all the dirt to diggable, and then set the type for all the grass, all the dirt, all the stone, and all the wood. And then for water tiles, we're going to set water true, and that's going to be the bit that puts the water overlay over our ponds and lets the farmer refill the watering can from them. So we will go ahead and do that. So you can copy from an existing map and then open your tile sheet, paste it in. So if I was going to need to go in manually to add the water, you would click, see, left right click. There we go. Right click, add property. In the property name, you type water, and then you click outside the box and it gives you this, and you just type a T for true. I don't need that twice. But the same thing is up here for type is, I have already done this. I'm so sorry. I thought that I was going to show you all how this works. And here I have already done this. Well, I mean, that's going to save us a lot of time, but I'll just go through and show you how. Again, it's a right click, add property. You would type for grass, and then you would type in grass, stone, wood as needed. For diggable, added that. It's the same concept, right click, diggable, true. This has buildable with a click for true. Some of this might have been because I copied things over from the other map. It must have just copied the style sheet over with everything, which is nice. Very nice to know you can do that. You can save a lot of time. But again, back over to this. You click on your tile. You type in the bit you need, followed by, so this would be in the name, and then this would be in the fill-in box, in the form box. It's not as obvious compared to tile versus when you're putting it into code. If you're putting into code, it looks just like this, but if you're doing it in tiled, which I prefer, it is the name here and then the value in that box. So diggable, true, and so on and so forth. So since that is all set up there, I'm just going to check my other tile sheets. Yeah, because I'm seeing the buildable on the some and not all of them. So, and this is the original game, so we know we can build on these tiles. So I think if it says diggable, it is also buildable, and you'll be fine. So we've got this one set up. We should be good because I mostly just used that for, okay, so here's one I did not set up. So it is right click, add property, type, click out of the box so you get this fill in form, and it's grass. And then I can copy that property, click on the next box, and just paste it in. Because I made in my map, because most of that look like you should be able to walk on that, I made them walkable on my map. And then you just click save, and that'll save it to your map. So that is that part. The next bit on my map we are going to do is I'm going to show you how to set up the spawning for the little mining area we made, because I don't want to forget to do that. So this space, I want to be able to spawn mining nodes. I'm going to pull this sidebar out so I can see my map properties panel. When we add anything that has a XY coordinate, if you look down in the lower left hand corner right now, my hovering over square 10170, that's XY, so 101 is X and 70 is Y. So that's how you can tell in tiled which square you're on. So should we need that, that's where I will be getting those numbers from. So I'm going to go into mining. Let's actually search for node. No. Here it is, spawn mountain farm or react. So this is the tile area on the farm map where it should randomly spawn. They're only going to have be able to spawn on dirt properties. So I'm going to have to make sure that that is set to dirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. Do you have dirt? Yes, I have dirt on all the tiles I might have used for that. So we're good on that. And we shall have to see if I've done this correctly. Okay, so I'm going to copy this to make sure I spell it correctly. I'm going to right-click, add property. I'm going to add that name. So now we have this part, and if you click on these three dots, it opens a box for you. So I'm thinking, because it's set X, Y, width, and height, that I can designate a rectangle here. And again, this is something I'm going to have to test. So I'm going to go over to this corner, which is 9962, 9 space 62 space X, Y, and then it was width and height. Let me confirm it was width and height. Width and height. So 9962, 1, 2, 3, 8 over, and then a space. 9, 10 down, so 8 by 10. So hopefully that will designate this area right here. And as long as there's nothing else there and the tile type is set to dirt, which means it's not going to spawn on any of this corner where I have the cliff wall built, but it should spawn randomly in this section if I'm reading the instructions correctly. So we're going to test that. When we test, we're going to make sure it spawned, and we will come back and correct this if it didn't. But that is designating our spawn space. Now I wanted a couple stumps to be renewable. So we're going to do stumps XY. And then the third spot is unused, and since in the example it says 3, we're going to put that 3 there. So stumps becomes, and these will be not the ones you chop down and they're gone, but the ones that refresh or respawn regularly. So we're going to add property, stumps. We have our field here. So I'm going to do this on these two here that I have marked originally with my marker. And we're going to do 4766 and 5168. So it's 4766. We're putting that 3 for that unused space. 5168, 68, and then a 3 for that unused space. And then I'm going to come down here to these 3 here. 568, 5 space 68 space 3 for the unused space. 571, 5 space 71, 3. 9 and 70, 9 space 70 space 3. And if I pop open our box, you can see how that looks. It's just the number and a space. So it's X, Y, and then that 3 for that unused space specified in the example. The reason I used 3 is because that is what was used in the example, so I knew it was a safe number. Save. And see. So I'm going to double check our ranching farm, see if there's anything spawning wise that I've forgotten about. Allow grass survive in winter. That looks like one we want. So that is, here it is, allow grass survive in winter. So this is what lets your grass show up in the wintertime. Before the last update, the grass would die in the winter. So we're going to add property, paste in that value, capital T for true. Just going back through here to make sure I'm doing all the spawning stuff first. Then we'll do our locations. Need to specify outdoors true. Outdoors, add property, outdoors. T for true, outdoors true, tells it that it is outdoors and allows weather such as rain and snow. That's very important on a farm map because you want the rain to be able to reach your map so your crops can grow. Locations. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is our locations and our warps in and out. Oh, I also need to set these bridges as passable, and there are some spots like right in front of our entryways that we want to block the player from being able to build on, so we will go over those next. All right, so the next thing to do is look at our warp entries. This is going to be where your farmer comes in and out of the farm. They usually line up with your paths. So I'm going to go here. I have a cat who's going to be in a lot of trouble if she doesn't stop. Here we go. Warps and map positions. I do use just find keywords to jump around this page a lot because it's so long. So what we have here is if you go to warps and maps positions, it shows the chart on your wiki page. So you have all of these keys right here. You have the backwoods entry, the bus stop, the entry location for the farmhouse, which we won't use on a custom map, just on a farmhouse, the farm cave, the farmhouse front door spot. So when you walk out of the door, it's where you line up with your door, and then the forest entry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and yes. Oh, and our greenhouse and the shrine and all of these right here. So I'm going to go through real quick. I'm just going to copy the keys because I don't want to misspell them. And we're going to, in our map, we're going to go to map properties to make sure we're putting it in the map properties, add property, paste. I want tiles. And keep in mind, these are all the tiles the player lands on. When we do the outgoing tiles, I'll show that in a minute because that's going to be a separate thing. So bus stop. We want to land on 108.23. Forest entry. $58.73. Then default warp location. This is like if you're doing a debug command or something, this is where the farmer will automatically land in a debug command. I like to put that one in, and I like to correspond it with the farm warp which would be 9517. So we've got our bus stop, our backwoods, our forest. We need to do the farm cave. I want to be 4221. Corresponds to the front door position. Okay. So the farmhouse entry is a little bit more complicated because this corresponds to the front door position. So I need to be on my reference tiles, add property, farmhouse entry. I'm going to pull up the farmhouse. Because I need to see it is it is third over second up is where we want that. Third over second up corresponds to the front door. So I actually want tile 9220. So it is this tile, 1, 2, 3 over, 1 up, because this one would be the stairs. Now, if I open my map and find out it's wrong, we will adjust the farmhouse entry spot. But 9220 is what I believe that should be, 9220. Like I said, we're going to be doing a testing debugging video, so where we can catch things. Okay, Grandpa's Shrine location corresponds to the upper left corner of the note, which I believe is, so that is 2914 is that tile. Greenhouse location, upper left corner of greenhouse's foundation. This one makes a lot of sense. So greenhouse location is going to be property, tile 4723. All right, then we will have our mailbox and our shipping bin and our spouse patio left. Okay. Mailbox location. This is where you want your mailbox to be. This is 9521. That's usually right next to the corner of the farmhouse. And again, these are not set values for all the maps. These are the values corresponding to the markers I put on this map. So yours will change based on where you put your buildings and mailboxes and entries and things. Pet bowl location. I'm just going down the list because it makes it easy to remember. Now, the more things you put in here, the harder it is to get it in. Just be patient with it. I put my pet bowl right here. 108.26. 6. And then shipping bin location, upper left corner. Shipping bin is how many tiles? 4 tiles. Oh, trying to remember if it fits in 2 tiles or if the lid goes up into 4. Lid goes up into 4. So, upper left corner. So I actually want this tile that's above it because that's where the lid is. So that is 98.18. Go ahead and save because I've added a bunch of stuff. Mouse area location. 4x4 corresponds to the left. For left, okay. So down 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be the top left corner. So it's going to be right there. 97.13. And it does, like, these are your 4 patio squares, and then these are, like, if you had a shed or a tree or something tall, that is the space that goes into. That's good to know. Traveling cart position. Warp totem entry. This is what I was saying. I also put the same value for the default arrival tile. This is when you have a warp property. When you have, like, when you use the farm warp totem, this is where you land, and that is going to be 95.17. 95.17. All right, so that's all of our entry points. The next trick is going to be adding the outgoing warps. This is how you get to the bus stop or the forest or the backwoods. And this is going to be, I'm going to show you actually on the existing ranch. This is the original. So it's warp, and then you have a bunch of extra stuff. So for every warp, you're going to do warp, and then it's going to be your from XY, the location name of the map you're warping to, and then the to XY. So they've given you the formula right here. And if you look at the existing map, you have it right here. You can see they're starting on these tiles. They're going to the bus stop. They're landing on tile 11, 23, and 11. Why are there? Oh, because there's 3 possible tiles to get. Okay, sorry. They're all landing on the same tile, but you can walk out to the bus stop from like 3 or 4. I am actually going to copy this, and I'm going to have to change my map's outgoing tiles, but by copying the existing map's warps, I know they're going to land on the correct tiles, and I don't have to skip through a bunch of maps trying to find the correct tiles, and we can just copy. And I do, if you have the ability, like if you're entiled, knowing you can do that, I think is a big help. Collapse that at property. It's WARP. I always want to add an S, but there is no S on the end of that. And then I can go into warps. I'm going to click the 3 dots to open the box, paste that in. We click OK. And we get started with the bus stop. So I'm going to zoom into my bus stop tiles. Part of the reason I put the fence here so that I would know exactly which tiles the farmer was going out to. So we have 109.22, 109.23, and 109.24. So we're leaving this. We're going 109.23, bus stop. 109.22 to the bus stop. 109.24 to the bus stop. And they're all going to land the farmer on spot 1123. Click OK and go down to the forest since that's listed next. 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I want? No. Go up to the paths. I'm going to add a bush in. That's building there. Okay. So it's those two. So these are the two, the farmer. I'm looking at my buildings layer. So if I hide all my layers here, except the buildings layer, these are the two tiles that the farmer can walk access. So I'm going to add. Now what I might have to do is I might have to take these two out, but we'll find out when I test it if the farmer can walk on those or not. Okay, so yes, that is how they did that. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to erase these two because the farmer can't walk on anything that's on the buildings layer. Erase those two. So I need to make sure I clear those. There we go. Now it'll work. All right. Properties. So we are 5874 and 5974 for the forest. So I'm going to open up our warps. Add 58 space 74. Make sure there's a space before forest. For forest. Okay. So now our forest is there. We're going to go up here to our backwoods entry spot. And those tiles are 74, 0, and 75, 0. Zero. Woods. All right. And then the last one is our farm cave. And where did I have our farmer landing on the farm cave? 4221, which I think is this one. So right there is the one we want. So we want 4220 for the farm cave. Warp farm cave. 4220. All right, so that is, I believe, all of our map properties set up. So, yes, so now we have some things you can change. If you look at this list, you have your farm flooring and your farmhouse furniture and starter gift and things started. I think if you don't set any of that, it just does the default standard farmhouse. Here it was, farmhouse interior, where 0 is mapped. Okay, so if I wanted to change the farmhouse flooring, I would copy farmhouse flooring in, and then if I want to change the farmhouse starter gift, you can. If you don't do this, it'll default to 15 parsnip seeds, which I'm perfectly happy with. And you can change where that shows up in the house. I'm going to also change the farmhouse wallpaper. So that's this one. All right, so flooring and wallpaper, you see I have this blank. This is why I have this other sheet pulled up. This is in order of the tile sheets. Your sprite index starts at 0 instead of 1, so you need to count from 0 if you want to do anything custom. So for the, pull up the actual sprite sheet so you can see it. So for your sprite sheet, you would start at 0 and keep going. So I think for flooring is the default is set to 41. No, let's just match it. I don't mind matching it. Okay. I don't know what I want to do. I'm being indecisive, so I'm just going to match it. And then for my wallpaper, I wanted the green plaid. So 0. I think it's number 8. Count here. 8. Okay. And if I'm wrong, if my count is wrong, it'll be either of the ones off to either side, which I am okay with. So I'm going to just put integer 8 there, and that's going to pull it from spot 8 from the sprite sheet. So that is how you change your farmhouse's flooring and wall defaults, so that when you start out, it'll be a little different to match your farm if you want to. And just real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything else that I wanted to talk about here. Brook sounds. So I do need to copy that. I'm going to add that in. Okay. So you put brook sounds, and then it's your XY coordinates and the type of sound you want. So it started out being just the brook sounds, but now you can add like an engine or crickets or a waterfall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and add the brook sounds for my map. So I will want to choose a couple spots where you hear a brook, a couple spots where you hear the waterfall. I might put some crickets in the forest because I see that as a thing here, and we can do that. So it'll be XY. And was it a small waterfall or a big waterfall? Let me double check that. Big waterfall is 5. Small waterfall is 4. So I think we will be using 4 in all of these. All right. So we are 2644. Just add it out. 2644. Yeah. Reopened it because I had played around with it too much and I didn't want to accidentally mess anything up. All right, so the next bit we need to talk about is tile data. So these are things that need to be set up on one of these pink tile data layers. I currently have it back in buildings because I think that is all I have planned to use, but if I need to add another one, I will. So these are going to be things like making our bridge passable and making sure areas can't be grown or planted or have a building over that might need to stay open, such as your farm cave entry. And if you look on the original ranching map, you can also see on the cabin that there is a tile data spot here, putting them in the preferred order. So we will be doing that as well for our cabins. So make sure, I think it's the same. So let me go ahead and start with the bridge section. I'm going to go back to our map. And we want, I think we want buildings passable. Yes, buildings passable allows passing through a tile, even though the building's tile can't normally be walked through. So this is the one we want. So I'm going to copy passable. It goes on the buildings layer. So we want to make sure that we are selecting our pink buildings layer right here. And then what we're going to do in tiled is we're going to go to this square tool. There we go. There we go. So we're on buildings, at property, passable, true. And then up here in name, you need to write tile data, T-I-L-E space D-A-T-A. If it doesn't say tile data, it's not going to work. I've learned that the hard way a couple times. Capital T on true. Make sure I haven't forgotten that. Okay, so then I'm going to click my select, which is the pink stamp looking tool. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste on each of these squares on the bridges, and that way our farmer will be able to walk over these bridges even though the bridges are built on the buildings layer. The reason they're built on the buildings layer is if I had them on the back layer, then the water overlay would go over the top. So I have all of those bridges set. The next thing we want to do is we want to make sure our cabins are set up correctly. File save. So I believe that is the order command. Okay, so this needs to be on the path layer. So I do need to make a new object layer. So this section tells you what layer it needs to be attributed to. So I need to go here. I'm going to go to pink object layer. I'm going to name this one paths. Make sure that's highlighted. And then we will do the same thing. We will use our blue box to draw a square. We're going to name it tile data. Right click, add property. It is order, O-R-D-E-R. We're going to name that 1. And then copy. And then I'm just going to change the integer. Okay, so the next one we want to make sure we do is no spawn. And false buildable. So the buildable false means that's placed in areas where you want to make sure you don't what is the word? Block if you build something. So like that, you can see it's set in front of the spouse area. And no spawn is used to keep forageables and trees and things out of the walking path. I'm less worried about spawning and more about the buildable. So buildable is done on the back layer. So I'm going to go back to my map. I'm going to unlock this back layer here. I am going to do the same thing don't want to build. Did he have it all over the spouse patio or just... Just going to do the one row in front. That should be enough to guarantee that the spouse can get to the spouse patio. Okay, name it tile data. F for false. Now we have a ring around the spouse patio. I believe those tiles are defaulted to not be buildable for that path texture. And then I want to make sure that we don't block the farm cave. Just going to put a buildable false tiles there. Actually, we can do, so if you want lightning rods or something. There we go. And all right, so this is it for the actual setup of the map portion. The next bit for making a custom farm map actually is creating your JSON file and writing your code, which will include your forageables. So on the next video, we will go over making your farm manifest and your JSON file and getting everything set up that way. I think I have a few little artwork things I need to do as well, because I did not keep to my plan of keeping things to roughly the same shape as one of the existing overworld maps. So we're going to, I'm going to have to make a little icon for it and all that too. And we will do that all on the next video. I hope you found this tile data and tile sheet setup information helpful. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.